Welcome to the Optics Room podcast. This is your host and optometrist, Hasnain Mamdani. Join me weekly where I host expert guests to give us a wider field of view into the world of optics. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Optics Room. We're honored to have a very special guest here today, Kishan Devraj. I'm sure you guys have seen his new app that's come about, Ask Fellow Clinicians. We'll go into that a lot more, but Kishan is very involved in the digital side of optometry. Kishan, great to have you here. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Hasnain. Thanks for having me, actually. I think it's great what you're doing and looking forward to it.
Fantastic. So let's start off by telling us how you ended up doing what you're doing and what exactly is it that you do?
Thank you. Yeah. So, I obviously, as you know, I'm an optometrist by profession, qualified probably about 12 years ago. But I've always had passion in the tech side. So, growing up, I always got excited by technology. In fact, just even simple things like building applications, was really, really exciting for me. So we started off things like building websites, and then eventually, especially during lockdown, accelerated my learning into things such as AI. I'm a very curious person. I love learning. So we looked at AI, we looked at building applications. So I really got to know and ended up building a few apps that caught the attention of people in more fields, and the rest is history. In fact, after that, so many opportunities came my way, and I've now been able to build applications that are really helping patients for more fields, for the Institute of Ophthalmology, even my own applications, all whilst being an optometrist. Just pursuing my passion really. So that's really
Fantastic.
the
So
brief.
how did you learn how to make an app, or where did you get that skill from? Because obviously it's very different to optometry.
Is very different to optometry, yeah. But really, what it is, like I said, I mean, I've taught. I'm self-taught. I taught myself because it's one of those things when you really enjoy something and you really, you're not really too worried about the outcome. You really enjoy it. You're gonna
Yeah,
learn it. It's like, for example, if you like cooking, you're gonna make mistakes and then you're gonna just end up learning how to become a good cook. And it's the same with this. It's just something that was me. And so I just pursued it and started from building very, very simple websites to now building large scale applications, partnering with Apple, and it's amazing things. But that's where it all came about.
that's amazing. And you've actually combined what you enjoy with what you do on a daily basis, and now you're basically getting the best of both worlds.
Exactly. So, and I think that's really important because a lot of people who are developing applications, they just develop for the sake of developing because it looks good. It's the new thing, and a new feature comes out, and they want to just build for the sake of it. But when you come from an industry like us, you're more focused on solving problems. You're on the front line, and you get the best of both worlds. And this is why sometimes when I'm working with more fields, they just let me get on with it. They don't need
That's
to
cool.
bug me too much, and it
Yeah,
happen.
because I haven't seen anyone else or do what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think it's got a very important and pivotal role to play in modern day optometry. How do you think this new digital age can help optometry move forward as a profession?
I think the world is changing. Healthcare overall is a bit slow in the change, and whatever change happens has to be in the benefit of the patients. And we look at other industries where you can find thousands of data points on a user, and you can tailor their experience and their service, but it's not really caught up in the health industry. Now we know that. I mean, we want everything quick. We want it fast. We want treatments quick. We want things at our fingertips, and this is what's coming in healthcare as well. And optometry is going that way. Um, I think it will benefit optometry. Is not is It will help give professionals better tools. It won't replace them, but it will help give them better tools to make better decisions for the patient, and ultimately improve patient satisfaction. That's what I believe.
Do you think that it's got the potential to connect different parts of the industry together? So, for example, you got your ophthalmologists, and then you've got your optometrist as well. How do you see them both? Very different groups of people in optics, but then working together within digital age.
Definitely, I think that's coming. Is a lot sooner than we think, where things will be a lot more integrated and the communicate because working with morphils and just talking to ophthalmologists, I can see what's happening, what's going on in the sense that in the future the burden is just going to increase. We have an aging population. More people are getting sick. More eye conditions and we have less staff to deal with it, so the burden is going to be unbelievable, and the cost is going to be to the patient, to the NHS, the the price that they have to pay, and the outcomes is going to be disastrous. This is the reasons why you'll see more integrations, and optometrists will have a much bigger role to play.
Yeah.
Very, very clinical, but they will have better tools, and one of the tools will be the integrating between ophthalmology is happening. We're seeing it, and we're going to be better equipped. So we just have to be well prepared.
So is this what your app Ask Fellow Clinicians does at the moment? Talk me through that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think with Ask Fellow Clinicians is something I built just for fun initially. I didn't really, I knew it would be useful and didn't really put it out there until recently. It was there. I had built it. But you know what it is when I was working with ophthalmologists, I really saw the need for something like this, and I thought that what, this could really help a lot of people, in the sense that we are connecting ophthalmologists, optometrists, but also optometrists as a whole. I feel that rather than I feel that when it comes to education, we learn better from experiences. 10 opinions are better than one. It's better for the patients, better for the practitioners. And imagine if we could just get more people in the room virtually on these cases. I
Yeah.
think it will be good for everyone. And
And
so
it's all about just consolidating the data that you get from it. So the larger database you bring, I guess, the more clinical data you have, the easily accessible information anyone has on there as well.
absolutely, absolutely. So that's right. We're going to have a lot of data, and yeah, we're going to be able to, reach a lot of people and connect people. More important than anything, because most
So
people, they don't have a big enough
yeah.
network.
So is it aimed more towards an optometrist who has a problem in practice, for example?
Yeah, so most of the users we find now are optometrists who would like second opinions on their cases, or would just like somebody to validate, what they're doing, and or they just want to learn something and they're not
Yeah.
sure about a case. They would use it as more of an educational tool because it will help them improve on their knowledge. And I think that's the best way to learn is through experience. But the
Yeah.
problem that most optoms have is they don't have a big enough network to reach out to, especially with
No,
different expertise, and they don't have the right tools a lot of the time. So I think this just helps with that.
100%. It's much better than WhatsApping a picture of the fundus to your mate and
Yeah,
saying,
yeah,
"Can you help me
exactly.
out?"
Exactly. And of course, we have a lot of security, privacy rules, which are becoming a lot stricter now
Yeah.
with WhatsApp and things. So it just solves some of those issues.
So aside from that, how else do you think tech can help optometry?
Well, maybe I'll give an example of what we're working on in Moorfields and the Institute
Yeah,
of
please do.
Technology, because you know, like let's say for example, you do an eye test, you gather bits of information. Let's say you're suspecting glaucoma, you look at the disc, you look at fields, maybe the pressures, and these are a few data points. But imagine if you have now 1,000 data points rather than just a few data points, and then you get that within within a minute maybe, and you now have a score which categorizes how high somebody's risk is of glaucoma based on thousands of points, and that's where we're going. I'll give an example. What we're working on in Moorfields is an application that basically uses your smartphone, which I mean your smartphone can send signals that can assess how a condition is affecting your lifestyle. For example, if you have glaucoma, you may not be, your mobility may be reduced. When the certain light levels that your smartwatch or your phone picks up, if the light levels are low, you may not be moving around as much. GPS, etc. So imagine tracking that and coming up with a score which assesses your risk factors of, how much your condition is progressing, and then prioritize those where it's affecting the most. So instead of doing a once a year VA check, imagine doing a second by second
Mm.
check on how an eye condition is affecting someone's lifestyle. You could even go further and look at their sleeping patterns, etc. And so this is something we're looking at. We're working with a lot of people to get this done, and clinical trials are underway. So that's just an example of how an optom, when they speak to a patient and say, "How are you doing?" You don't even need to do that. You're
Yeah.
calling the patient and you're saying to the patient, "I know how you're doing. You're looking good."
This is
And
what you need to do.
and what's going to happen is that the practices will now call the patients before the patients call the practices,
Yeah.
and they will prioritize. And so now you're reducing the burden on the system, because you're prioritizing the people that really need the help. And that's something. Obviously, we'll combine it with fundus images and all sorts. So it's not solely just
Yeah.
tracking, but it's exciting stuff.
That's amazing. And the sky's the limit because you can help so many people and really be quite efficient
Yes,
in what you're trying to do. Do you think that this can potentially change the way optometry is done in
yes.
the UK? Just, the standard someone goes in for an eye test, does a refraction, buys glasses and goes home, comes back after 2 years. Do you see this model lasting for the next 10 to 15 years, or do you see it changing into something else?
No, personally, is we have to look at what users want. And if we really look at it, and you look at the new generation of people who they expect a lot more. Expectations are high. They expect the highest quality. They can see when people are being missold, and this generation is a lot smarter, and they're experiencing in other companies, amazing service, and so they're expecting that here as well. And I don't think the model that we have is going to be around for too long. It's a good model, but it's just not sustainable.
Hmm.
Especially with technology where people can do remote eye exams, and uh,
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming very soon.
yeah, exactly, remote eye exams. So especially now with everything becoming integrated, it's not just integrating ophthalmology and optometry. We're going to see integration across all of healthcare. We have an NHS working on that now, um, and then we're using some of that information, and that will be useful for optometrists as well. So the model really going forward is going to be a more patient focused. It's going to be more health focused, and more technology focused. But these are good tools. They're not threats. They're amazing
Mm.
tools to give incredible service, and to really treat people's conditions and
Yeah. I
help.
think it's about embracing the change that's coming rather than
Yeah,
seeing it as the enemy.
yeah,
Because if you really embrace it and if it's to the benefit of the patient, at the end of the day, the patient is going to stay loyal to you because you're monitoring them 24/7.
yeah,
Why would they go anywhere else?
yeah.
But do you still feel some hesitancy from practices or optometrists from bringing digital tools into their work environment?
I do see that. I think that it is going to be something that people will resist. But we have to go with what people want. At the end of the day, we have to look at what the market. We have to be realistic on what people really want. I'll give you an example. You go on Netflix and they already know what you want to watch. you know,
Yep.
and that's artificial intelligence. And the same people that complain are the same people who are watching those programs on Netflix. And so
Yeah.
is more about tailored. I mean, personally, even if I was hesitant, I want personalized, tailored care. I want a doctor to be able to monitor me constantly. I don't want to go in for a 10, 15 minute check every year. I want to get the best care. I want when I log onto the internet, I have thousands of data points monitoring my movements. Why
Yeah,
not
and I
use
think people would pay a premium for that as well.
exactly
If you can get the best service, someone who's with you, basically with you 24/7,
exactly?
looking after your eyes, then you wouldn't settle for anything less. And I think hopefully it will become the standard
Hmm.
going forward.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everybody wants high quality, accessible care, and if artificial intelligence or technology can help that, then why not? It will be a bit messy in the beginning, so we can understand people's frustrations. But the goal is, as long as we're moving it forward and we're making progress, that's the ultimate goal, and that's what's
And
best.
I think
Mm,
yeah, the main thing is to move forward as an industry. And what I've felt in the last maybe 10 years is that lots of different groups within optometry just work separately. The optoms are separate, the ophthalmologists are separate, you've got your hospitals who work separately, and no one is really cohesive. Obviously, it's improved a lot in the last maybe 5 years with the new MEC schemes and the NHS schemes and ophthalmologists and opticians coming together. But I think it's only the start, and a lot more needs to be done because if you look at other industries, people of different levels work together so cohesively that it's such a silk transmission, especially for the patient as well. But I find that in optometry, at least maybe a few years ago, until we were all working separately in our own ways. And I
yeah,
think if digitalization is something that can bring us together, then that's going to be amazing. It just gives us better value for what we're doing, and it gives the patient better value for what they're getting as well.
100%. I agree.
Yeah, and I think sometimes optometrists stunt in their development clinically. So you graduate, you qualify, you do your CPD sessions, you get your points by every year, but then that's it. And when a case comes along to you in practice, you're like, what do I do?
Yeah,
And then you don't know what to do. So then you refer to your ophthalmologist, and your ophthalmologist is like, why are you referring this to me? It's a waste of time.
yeah,
You know, but that's because some optometrists don't have that clinical knowledge and they don't know what is expected of them from an ophthalmologist, and vice versa as well. Um, so, if anything, this could bring about a real cohesive working structure
well,
within different groups.
well, I spoke to an ophthalmologist recently who was performing some studies, and she said to me that 80% of the cases that come to emergency are not emergencies. The optometrist didn't need to refer, and that's a common problem. You can imagine what that's doing to the waiting times, the NHS, the patient's inconvenience. And so when we
Yeah,
talk about technology, what we're talking about is improving the system. I mean, a lot of times when we complain about it is we're thinking about ourselves, our convenience, but what about what we could do for the public? And so we can, I mean, anybody, there's always opportunities to get involved in these things, and there's so much opportunity that every single person can actually, in optics, can play a part. And there's no lack of opportunity there. And this is why I encourage people to use the app, Ask Fellow Clinicians, because it kind of bridges that gap, and it also um, probably may reduce unnecessary referrals, and help you to have more confidence in what you're
yeah,
referring.
that's what it's all about. And it's interesting that you said that 80% of people in the emergency room don't actually need to be there. Personally, I think that boils down to two things. Firstly, is that the optometrists don't have that knowledge
Hmm.
of what is emergency and what's not. But second is fear of retribution from the GOC or any kind of legal case. These days, people do like to sue for any little thing,
Yeah.
and it plays on the optometrist's mind quite a lot. Sometimes on the back of my mind, if I'm on the fence and
Mm,
I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me just refer just so I have my back covered at the end of the day. So I think if there's anything that can bring us all together and give us that knowledge that's required, and also I feel that there should be some kind of support from the GOC to say, you know what, if you're in this situation, do everything you can do, and we'll back you at the end of the day. You know, you're part of us. And if the GOC, the AOP, the college can all embrace apps like this and digitalize information rather than trying to Google, is this an emergency referral or not?
yeah.
Then I think the quality of referrals going to the hospital will massively increase as well.
Well, This is the idea, is when the market moves, people pay attention. So organizations like the GOC, I mean, if we start to get results, they will pay attention. And so um, even with the whole technology thing, when the market is ready, and when it's like the contact lenses, online contact lenses, I mean, there still is a lot of hesitation against it. And um, but now we have Specsavers selling online, um,
Yeah, yeah.
and there was a massive,
Even
retaliation.
Vision Express as well. Yeah,
Vision Express, yeah, and how it was wrong, and this, but that's what people wanted. That's what we got to remember. That's exactly what people want. They want quick. They want now. They want cheap. And it's the same thing with eye tests and healthcare. So that's what they want. That's what they're going to get. And if it's not you doing it, somebody else is going to do it. So
yeah,
rather
exactly.
than complaining, is we can actually be part of it, and we can help move that forward.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. Do
Yeah.
you feel that all this tech coming in
Mm.
spells the beginning of the end for the optometrist?
No, it is the beginning of tremendous opportunity, and I tell you, and my story is just one of those stories. I'm not, I'm not a tech expert. I've never done a course on building an app, right? I've never studied technology. I've only studied optometry, and when I was able to build some of these things, we've had so much interest from people who want to get involved, and we've managed to raise so much funding as well. Can you imagine? I never knew how to raise funds for anything, you know. And they've offered me a PhD to do for free as
Oh,
well.
wow.
They fundraise funds for PhD, and
Yeah,
so my point I'm trying to make is opportunities everywhere. I'm just a normal average optom. I'm nobody special, and anybody can really, um, if you have an idea, don't hesitate, and think big. And there is opportunity. Don't be scared of what the change. In fact, where there is most change is most opportunity. There's no
yeah,
opportunity in doing the same thing over and over again. So what I would say to everybody is embrace it, come up with some ideas, other people embrace it, and you'll be at the forefront of it all, and
yeah.
make it happen.
Be the change you want to see, isn't it?
Exactly, exactly. Don't limit yourself, Yeah.
No, exactly.
I just had an idea one day. I thought, imagine one day, you could be assessed from home by not even doing anything, right? You could have a phone in your pocket, you could wear a smartwatch, and your doctors will know exactly what's going on, and will be able to tell you if your condition is getting worse. You know, um, these are the things, and I didn't know where to start, but you speak to the right people, you start somewhere, and
Yeah,
you
got
think,
somewhere. Yeah, I
yeah,
think it's definitely there. I don't see us being very far off
yeah,
from maybe wearing a pair of glasses that checks the condition of your glaucoma at the end of the day, or even your VAs. I mean, it's coming.
it's come,
Smart glasses are already there.
yeah,
Um, yeah, great. Well, look, Kishan, thank you so much for your time.
yeah,
I think it's been a fantastic, insightful discussion um, around digital and tech in optometry. And there's so much scope for it, and you really bring out the excitement in. And I can see in your face when you're explaining your app
yeah.
just how much potential there is and how much genuine interest you have there as well. So I wish you the best of luck in all your endeavors, and make sure you keep us all up to date as to what's coming out next.
I will do. Hassan, keep up the good work, man. You're doing great.
Thank you. Thank you. Great. Take care.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.